And the name of the course is financial reporting, right? Financial reporting. This is BAF 3010. Okay. So what is it that is expected of you in this course? What do you expect to have, you know, in this course called the financial reporting? So this is what we want to do. So I want to give you the general orientation of the course, what is being covered, what you expect to find, and how we are going to progress. Basically, that's what we are going to do. As usual, I will start by the mode of learning before we start uncovering the content. We will use the past examination question papers, the previous year's assignments, tests, quizzes, tutorial sheets, question banks. Yeah, just to guide us and help us to understand these concepts properly and to help you get properly prepared for the final examination. And so this is what we are trying to do this year. So that will be the approach of learning. So we'll talk about the concepts. When you understand them, we bring down the course itself. Okay? What is it that we're going to be learning? Now listen carefully. When was that? That should have been, I think, first year. It should be first year. In first year, you learned a course called financial accounting, where you were learning basically how to report and record in books, record transactions, and also present some of those informations. Yeah, some of the information, to the stakeholders. But that accounting you did was super basic. That is the basic and most basic level of accounting you can ever attain. This time around, you are becoming a serious accountant. And so even the conversations are changing. Yeah, we are becoming much more real and much more practical. Okay. So what is it that we are going to be doing in this one? First of all, as businesses grow, now listen carefully. As a background info, for the background information we have, the businesses are now growing. And so the owners of the businesses, they are becoming distant from the management of the business. Okay. You will see that most of these giant businesses, the owners are not involved in the management of these businesses. What we are trying to mean is that you will notice that, people just come buy shares in this company and then they go, they sit, they go continue with whatever they are doing. So then the question of the day is who is going to be managing, these companies? That's the question. Who then is going to be managing these companies? And so they assign or give responsibility to the management to manage the affairs of the company. So mainly the managers, the people that are managing the companies, usually are not the owners of those companies at macro level. Unless these small and medium enterprises, that's where you find that the owners are actively involved in the management. But when we talk about big companies, public limited companies, giant conglomerates, you find that owners are not even involved in the running. Other people are running the company. Now listen carefully. It follows that if the owners are not involved in the running of the company, they may not be seeing what is going on in the company daily. And actually, it is not of their interest to see what is going on in the company daily. You get what I mean, eh? So at a certain point, then they will need to receive reports. And now pay attention you understand where this course is coming from. They will need always periodically to receive, the reports of what is going on in this company. And mainly, they stick so much to numbers, financial reporting. They want to see the financial health of the company. How is our company performing financially? So financial reports become, important at this level. Okay. So if those people rely on the information that you put in your reports to know what is going on, then it is very important for an accountant to learn how the reports are written. So in this course called financial reporting, you learn basically how we prepare those reports, those financial reports, how they are prepared. Okay? Are we still connected? Do I just get confirmation people are able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So that's where the course is coming from. Right? So we are training you how to report, how to prepare these financial records. Another issue that is of interest, and it should follow nicely when it comes to this conversation, is how do you then report? Do you just sit down and think of, okay, I'll write this like this, I'll do this? You write in your own way, the way how you think that you can write. In other words, are there any established formats that have to be followed when you are reporting the aspects of the business? Okay, those when you are preparing those financial reports, are there pro formas to be followed? Right? Are there guidelines? That is the question. Is uniformity important or necessary? Right? Do you need to have these financial reports uniform? That is to say, a financial report that has been prepared here in Zambia by our Zambian chartered accountant should be the same as what has been prepared in the US. You understand? The report that has been prepared by an international company, we should be able to understand, what is going on when you read it from here as well. In short, we want to make sure that whatever accountants are writing worldwide is the same thing, or the formats are just the same. Now, to introduce this uniformity, there came the International Accounting Standard Board. And so the International Accounting Standard Board was established. Now listen carefully. This is getting serious. So the International Accounting Standard Board actually was established to form or come up with what we call the International Accounting Standards. And I'm speaking to the International Accounting Standards because these are a backbone of this course, right? Without these, then you can't do this course. It's better you knock off right now and go. The International Accounting Standards, the IASs, are very, very important. Actually, they serve as a foundation, or they are a cornerstone of the course financial reporting. They are basically the guidelines on how these financial reports are to be prepared. Okay? At the same time, at a later stage, there came what we call International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRSs. The International Financial Reporting Standards, as well, as the name is suggestive, these are just there to guide you on how to prepare the financial reports, and how to report is just like that. At a later stage, I'll teach you the difference between ISs and IFRSs. But as for now, get it that these are just the guidelines that guide on how you report those aspects of the business. Each of the aspects of the business has an IS, has a standard that guides on how you have to deal with it, how you have to handle it. Okay? For example,
Yes, sir.
For example, there is what you call, we have a lot of ISs. we have International Accounting Standard number 1, IAS 1. Guess what it talks about? IAS 1 talks about financial statements, right? The International Accounting Standard number 1, actually the first standard, talks about the financial statements. And by financial statements, according to the accounting standard, it says that this one is a collective term that refers to the following statement. 1, the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. This one is just there to show us whether we have made a profit or loss as a company, right? 2, the statement of financial position. Others call it the balance sheet. Okay? The statement of cash flow and the statement of changes in equity, as well as how to put additional notes. So the IAS just talks about all those things. It even gives the formats, like, oh, this shall be the format for an income statement or the statement of profit or loss. It will be like this. This will be the general format. Those formats, it's not one person who just comes up with those and sits down. No, the board is the one that guides. And remember, this board is made up of it has representation. It is made up of the representatives from each country. That's why it is called an International Accounting Standard Board. In Zambia here, we have ZICA. You have heard of ZICA, right? The Zambian Institute of Chartered Accountants.
Yes.
ZICA is a member of the world, the international and world, accounting board or committee. And in there, ZICA has a member in the same board, has some members. Okay. So each country, so these people sit together, discuss, these issues. Anyways, let me not get in too much details of that, but at least you have gotten the idea. IAS 1 gives the formats of financial reporting, financial statements. International Accounting Standard number 2 talks about inventory, right? How to treat inventories in accounting. By the way, this is another level of accounting that you have reached. You're going to notice that. There is a standard.
Right.
There is a standard actually that just talks about inventory. It is a thick paper. It has a number of pages just explaining how inventories are to be treated. As an accountant, you should know. All right? I'm just giving examples. IAS number 7, International Accounting Standard number 7 talks about cash flow statements, how the cash flow statements are prepared. It talks about the elements one by one, and defining those same elements, giving boundaries to the definitions, giving inclusions and exclusions. Very detailed. It's a whole document, just, an IAS is a document, like it has all those guidelines, just one document. It is called it has all these numbers. So IAS 13 talks about, or IAS 12 talks about deferred taxes. IAS 16 talks about what? Intangible non-current assets. It's a whole document just speaking to intangible non-current assets, giving examples, what is included, how to treat them, how to get depreciation of houses, of furniture. All those guidelines are there, There are many of them, but I've just sampled some. For example, IAS 41 talks about biological assets. How do you report in case you are working at a farm as an accountant? How do you treat animals? Are they assets? Can you say an animal is an asset? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you are a farmer, you have trees, maybe mango trees, pawpaw, papaya, among others, right? How do you treat those trees that give you mango, tomatoes, bananas? Are they assets? Okay. Are they liabilities? How do you value them? Because they grow, right? How do you account for the loss in their value and all that? That is another level of accounting I'm explaining. That is IAS number 41. It explains in details. By the way, we'll talk about it in detail when you get there, but get it that those are assets. Animals are assets at the farm, okay? They are biological assets. Okay. Trees and whatever. Anyways, what about the fruits that are born from those? Are they animals? What about milk? Is it an asset? And you learn all those crazy things, right? But very interesting. It is a very nice level of accounting. I'm sure you will enjoy it, right? In a nutshell,
Yeah.
I've talked about the ISs, the International Accounting Standards. One by one, everything is there. Liabilities, they are talked about. Anything you want is there. IS 10 talks about the combinations of businesses. Imagine a business buys a fellow business, right? That is called an acquisition, right? If a business happens to buy a fellow business, it's an acquisition. But how do you report that, right? So there is an international accounting standard that talks about business combinations. Okay. What if this company buys shares in the fellow company? You know those things. Those are practical things that happen in reality. You find this company has shares in the other company. How do you report all that? How do you, prepare reports for all those things? In short, there are standards across. Yeah, each aspect has the guidelines. And this is what makes you an accountant. Now, this is where you start from becoming an accountant. This is where the difference starts from, From those people who didn't sit in this class, who just did the basic financial accounting, because they don't understand these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, accountants, listen. My fellow accountants, I'm always very happy when I'm speaking to accountants because I speak to my colleagues. By the way, I told you everybody knows that I'm an accountant. Okay, let's proceed. So for the purpose of an examination, what are we going to cover? 1, IS1, highly examinable, the financial statements. At least you can always have one question talking about the financial statements, right? Asking you either to prepare a profit and loss and other comprehensive income. But these are usually very detailed. You will see. They are not as basic as they were. These are complex accounts, but very real. Yeah, they are not like those ones that they try to simplify too much. These are real questions. We will learn published accounts. You need to pay attention to published accounts. Yeah, they are always examinable. Business combination, at least you have a question here. Either in one of the assignments, a test, or even in an exam. Always, even when you're preparing for ACCA exams, you have questions on business combinations. You get what I mean, eh? Business combinations, this is where you are talking about consolidated financial statements. We call them consolidated financial statements. Imagine you are reporting for a group of companies like CDCO. Huh? You know those companies that are a group, not one company. Like there are many other companies, maybe 7 companies under one umbrella, one main company. How do you prepare accounts for those companies? Because those businesses are doing maybe different business lines. You get what I mean, eh? They are dealing with different stuff. These ones are dealing with maybe houses for rentals. These are maybe lodges. These are what? These are schools. Different. These are maybe transport business. But it's one name. They operate under one name. How do you account for that? Have you seen now accounting is becoming real, eh? Because what you know is just what is taught, what was learned basically is just to deal with a single business, right? It orders, it sells. But we're talking about this system of businesses, many businesses put together. How do you prepare the accounting? How do you summarize on single papers, like few papers, few pages, all those activities, right? That's what we're going to be looking at. So you have business combination consolidated accounts. You have at least 1 or 2 questions from here. Ratio analysis in what is known as financial statements analysis. You have a question here, you pay attention to that. Then the rest of the other questions, usually you could have a question from cash flow. These others can be any of the international accounting standards. That is how you prepare for the financial reporting exam. So you pay attention and ensure you understand properly financial statements. And you know you can't understand them without understanding the ISs, which means the backbone of everything is the ISs, right? You need ISs first because each of these topics, there are specific ISs that speak to these topics. So you need to understand them one by one. So that is how you work and prepare for the exam. Any questions?